Good evening, everyone, and welcome to NjustUs, the show that's been sharing stories of injustice and allowing listeners to ask questions and seek advice since 2020. And we've been featuring guests impacted by the criminal justice system and or making a difference in the Black community. I am so pleased to announce that Injustice has joined the Beltway Radio and Beyond Network, and our shows are now streamed live in studio. So I'm so honored to be a part of the family. So here we are. Yes, Injustice. We in that building. I am author Melinda Robertson, your host and founder of Black Mothers for Justice, Inc., a 501c3 nonprofit that provides a safe space for mothers with children wrongfully or rightfully incarcerated. The purpose is to give them a better understanding of the judicial process and teach them more effective ways to cope with their child's fate without falling prey to substance abuse. The ultimate goal is to educate mothers about an unfair and unjust judicial system and systemic racism because knowledge is power. If you would like to join the Black Mothers for Justice movement and help rebuild the village that's desperately needed in the Black community, please visit www.blackmothersforjustice.com and join our Facebook page. We are into the the third month of 2023, and there have been more than 45 homicides in DC already. Black communities nationwide have been flooded with semi automatic weapons and ghost guns, and it's going to take us mothers to get them out. It all starts and ends with us because that's who a majority of the kids that are out here killing, robbing, and carjacking people live with. So the only way we're going to get the guns off the street is to first get them out of our homes. Our kids are at war with the streets, and we must be intentional about saving them from themselves. And if that means searching their bedrooms and flipping mattresses to make sure there are no guns in our homes, then so be it because we have got to get the guns out of their hands by any means necessary. Tonight's featured guest is the esteemed Dr. Lanice Bias, an internationally known motivational speaker, trainer, certified youth and family life coach, and consultant. She's a dynamic and compelling orator who engages audiences with her motivational and inspirational presentations, workshops, and seminars. Dr. Bias has moved from grief to empowerment, giving the world over 30 years of wisdom, inspiring, encouraging, and empowering audiences. After addressing the topics of drugs and violence for many years, Dr. Bias has turned her focus toward the needs of the entire community. She has become a community activist addressing topics dealing with the declining social health of youth, the family, and the community. Dr. Bias has developed several programs: Women in Training for teen girls, Men in Training, which is teen male workshops, and Helping Our Parents Evolve, Endure, and Excel parenting program. She is the president of the Bias Foundation and B Speaks LLC, a life investment company that packages hope and brings new solutions to old problems. Both organizations are designed to help women, youth, families, students, and those in workplaces to navigate the hardships, stressors, and challenges in their personal lives. Dr. Bias is a change agent who believes that positive change can happen in our communities when we use practical grassroots methods of prevention and intervention. She has delivered keynote addresses to the faith based community, public and private sectors, and national and international conferences, providing prescriptive solutions to remedy the social ills of our day. Her audiences are diverse. She has addressed heads of state, including former President Bill Clinton and the White House National Office of Drug Control Policy. A few of her clients include, but are not limited to, the Drug Enforcement Agency, the Department of State, U.S. Office of Personnel Management, Homeland Security, National Basketball Association, National Football League, NCAA colleges, financial aid, and numerous middle schools, high schools, universities, and women's organizations. Dr. Bias has made many media appearances and is the recipient of numerous awards, including the Boston Herald Community Service Award, President's Cabinet Award for Distinguished Service to Humanity from the University of Texas in Galveston, Bridging the Gap Humanitarian Award from the University of Pennsylvania, and the Giant Steps Parent Award. In May of 1990, she was conferred in May of 1990, she was conferred an honorary doctorate of education degree from the Anna Marie College in Paxton, Massachusetts. As the result of the deaths of her two sons, Lynn and Jay Bias, Dr. Bias's career was launched as a public speaker. Lynn Bias, her oldest son, died due to cocaine intoxication 2 days after being drafted by the Boston Celtics on June 19th, 1986. And Jay Bias was murdered in a drive-by shooting at a local mall in 1990. Their tragic deaths have forced her commitment to help reclaim our communities. Dr. Bias is confident in the future and believes the best is yet to come. Please help me in welcoming the esteemed Dr. Lonnie Bias to the show. Good evening, Dr. Bias.
Good evening, Melinda.
I'm just so honored. I'm so in awe of you, the woman that you are, and these accomplishments. It just goes on and on and on. I'm just so amazed. You are
Mm,
an amazing woman, Dr. Pius. Welcome to the Injustice.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It is indeed an honor and a privilege. And I thank you for affording me the opportunity to be a part of this historic event.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. So we're gonna just go ahead and get into it. So how old was Lynn when he first picked up the basketball?
Well, I'd like to take a different turn. If you don't mind, we'll get to that part. But first, I would like to say thank you for extending the invitation, and we end up in Women's History Month and the so many celebrations about women. And I thank my God for giving me the strength to be here, because first of all, I thought that when this just came to me as I was sitting here looking at your material, and I saw injustice, and I felt like I had experienced injustice from God. What is going on, God? One son died of a drug related death, and 42 months later, another is violently murdered. That's injustice. You told me that if I served you, I would have pearls in my hand, but here I am standing on one son's grave and burying another. Where are my pearls? And God said to me, Lanice, the best is yet to come. So I thank him for his strength today. If I had been told that I would have had to bury two children to speak to you today, to all of the accolades that you read, I would have told him to get himself another girl. I'm not the one. But I believe that God entrusted this mission to my husband and I, and we're still standing almost 40 years later because of this mission, showing people that you can get through. You have to press and push. Life is a bowl with lemon and honey in it. Sometimes it's sweet, and sometimes it can be so bitter. So it's an honor to be here. The injustice that I thought I had received it was not injustice. It was the glory of God and doing his work for the kingdom that I did not know I was called to do. So he strengthens me and has strengthened me and my family for over almost 40 years, 37 years this year, to still be able to stand and not drop the ball.
Wow. You are an amazing woman. Wow. Wow. I think you should also add being a minister to speak the word because that was powerful. That
Well, I am a twice ordained elder. I
Yes.
am.
Okay. Well,
And
that came through. That definitely came through. Thank you so much for sharing that. You are definitely an anointed woman, and just your strength. I believe that your story and all that you've accomplished in turning your grief into your power. I pray it will be able to minister to some women who are also grieving their children.
yes.
So that's my hope and prayer because you are definitely an inspiration.
Well, I tell you this very quickly in reference to the mothers that are grieving. One thing that I'm clear about, and God showed me, because there's so many parents who have drank from this bitter cup. They've done everything they thought they were supposed to do. And I mean, still ended up with a tragic end. And what I have learned through my faith walk, and I am keenly sensitive and aware of the fact that every one of your listeners may not come from my belief system, but I come to offend no man. Any reference that I make spiritually, I'm talking about my own walk, my own belief system. But I believe that there are some of us that have been chosen, and our kids, our children that have been taken away tragically have been used as a sacrifice to awaken us to say it's time for change. And our children, I know that my two sons, this is what I believe, my two sons were two seeds that were planted. They weren't buried. They were planted and they're still bringing forth fruit years later. And even in your program, all of the mothers that you're trying to help who have lost kids, I don't know whether you know this or not, or you are bringing a heightened awareness to empower people to bring forth fruit. What do we do with the pain and the grief that we're dealing with within our communities? And yes, we have injustice on one side, but what is the other thing that we can do so that we can bring change in our community and make our own borders safe within our own community? So I believe that you're helping parents, and just to know that their kids were seeds that went down into the ground to bring forth life.
Yes.
And what will they do with their child's life? What memorial will they bring to the earth in memory of their child to help other young people, other young boys and young girls with drugs? I've received a call from a mother just last week. At the time, it's going so fast. Last week or week before last, and her her son had passed from what do you call it?
Fentanyl, one of
Yeah,
those.
in cocaine.
Okay.
And I explained it to, was sharing it with someone else, and she said she had just done a funeral in another state for parents that had dealt with the same thing. So we have to go back, even though everything is legal. I mean, not everything is legal. You can have marijuana and those types of things, but we have to go back to revisit what just say no means, because today is just scary. You don't know what is real and what is not. What will give you a sense of coping and pleasure, or what will kill you.
Yes, that is so true. So, Dr. Bias, was there a time that you were ever angry? Um, I I have had numerous conversations with women that have lost children, and a lot of them have been angry or are angry with God. Were you at any point
Yeah, I
angry?
just told you that I thought it was an injustice
Right.
what I had to deal with, but let me go back and explain. God prepared me for Len's death 18 months before he died. I had a dream or a vision that death was coming to my house. and I was troubled for 18 months. And it felt like when Len died, it felt like a pressure lifted off of me. Now, I was strengthened and built up for Len's death just to walk through it. And that was the strength of God. 18 months preparation getting me ready for the main stage, that I would be a public speaker, kicked out of my comfortable position to maximize my potential to help so many other people. Now, I went ahead, I did that. Everybody said, "Oh, you're so strong." No, I kept saying it's God, God. But let me tell you, Melinda, and your listeners, when I went back to Leland Hospital in Hyattsville with the same bad news in the same waiting room, when I knocked on the door to the waiting room for the family, and my daughter, asked my daughter, "How is Jay?" And she said, "Jay is gone." I said, "Gone where?" She said, "He's dead." I said, "What? Dead? No, God, God played too much. It's not real." I went in that room. I took my fists. I beat the walls in. I screamed. I cried. I hollered. I took the lamps. I threw them in the floor. And when we walked out, the room was trashed when I walked out of there. And the nurse said, "Oh, we have him ready for you to look at." I could have spit in her face. I said, "Get away from me. I won't look over another son in this place. I will not." And I went home. The media was already waiting there. When Len passed, it was a circus for months and months and months. And this time I said, it's not going to be a circus. I put my brother at the front door. I said, "Don't let anybody in here." And then I locked myself in my bedroom for 3 days, not talking to anybody. They'd bring me food or water or something to drink. I'd throw it up against the wall, just mad with God. This is not right. You told me to serve you, and here I am serving you, supposed to have pearls, and I have dead leaves in my hand, standing on one son's grave, burying another. Where is the good in that? And that's when God said to me, "Lonnie, the best is yet to come." I could not see it then, but because I was called for this mission and put seeds out of encouragement and helping children, just telling them to make good decisions and stay away from drugs. And Melinda, today, hear me right, today, I still receive emails from individuals who said that I came to their school when they were in middle school, and they are now professionals, or they have told their children what I told them. It's just remarkable how people's lives have changed. And I have been out in public, and people have walked up to me and said, "The day your son died, I stopped drugs cold turkey. I never touched it again." So he did more in death than he could have ever done in life for this nation. But what has happened is, as you were speaking earlier about what's happening within our community, the demise in our community, we have everything built up for intervention and results, but we have nothing for prevention. How do we go into a prevent defense? And that's what we need today. I believe that our young boys, our young girls are reachable, teachable, lovable, and savable. We have to change our approach in adapting to their needs. And I believe the best is yet to come.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. Um, Dr. Bias, can you just elaborate a little bit on that dream, if that's okay?
Well, it was like,
I mean,
I
so
don't know. It wasn't
you
it
knew that
it
something
wasn't
was going to
anything.
happen. You
It
just knew
it
that something was going to happen. I'm sorry.
I don't know if you or your listeners have had something that you dreamt about that you just couldn't shake. You know what I mean? You wake up like with a cold chill and you say, "What was that?" But
Yes.
I never saw anyone die. It was just that thing, somebody is going to die. And all I saw was a not even a garment. I think it was a spread or something.
Oh, wow.
But I had been in the faith for so many years. So I'm talking about spiritually what I sensed from the dream that death was coming. That
Right.
was what I received. And I want to say this as well. Having faith is like having a savings account. You can only get out what you put in.
Yes.
You can't have to get your roof repaired and only have $20 or $200. You need $2,000 to get it done. So I had been stored up in my faith. So when Len died, the power of God activated in me and moved me forward into my mission.
Yes.
You
Yes.
just can't just muster up faith.
Right.
No, because our faith, and I think where so many of us get confused sometimes, even in the body of Christ, is we're trying to operate in our faith. And God is saying, no, no, no. I don't need you to operate in your faith. I need you to take your mustard seed faith and believe in me, not what you can do, but what I can do.
Yes.
Have faith in me. And that's how I have made it.
Yes, yes, yes. I just want to say that, listeners, if you'd like to join the conversation or you have a question you would like to ask Dr. Bias, please feel free to dial 301-761-1040. Again, that number is 301-761-1040 if you would like to join the conversation or if you have a question for Dr. Bias. So how old was Lynn when did you know that he had it as far as his love for basketball? Was your husband a basketball player? Did
My
he?
husband was an athlete, but he never pursued it any further than high school.
Okay.
And my father was an athlete.
Okay.
My father played baseball and could swim, and my husband played basketball as well.
Okay.
But we did not know Len's gifting until he reached middle school. And we lived in an area in Hyattsville called Columbia Park. And everything was feeder schools. You know, they went to Columbia Park Elementary, all of the kids, and then they all went to Greenbelt Middle School. And from there, everyone went to Northwestern. So it was feeder school. So when Len went to middle school, he picked up this interest in playing basketball. And once he started playing basketball, he went through a growing spurt. I
Uh-huh.
mean, one day we were looking at him not even eye to eye, and the next day we were looking up at him. And he just kept growing and growing, and his interest intensified in that particular sport. So, with it being a feeder school, they used to have the intramural teams then for they called the little intramural sports that they would play from middle school to middle school, preparing the kids for high school. So the coach at the middle school level told the coach at the high school level that he may have a prospect in this kid called Leonard Bias
Oh,
because
wow.
he looked like he had potential,
How tall was
and
he?
that's where it went. And he just embraced it and grabbed it and moved forward.
Wow. How tall was he?
6'8".
Oh, wow. Oh my God.
Yeah,
He was a huge.
yeah. Jay was 6'5".
Wow.
Yeah.
Is your husband tall?
No, my husband is about 6'1".
And how tall are
Six.
you?
I'm 5'8" and a half.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But
Wow.
my
So you're a little
husband's
guy.
dad was tall, and my family is tall.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 6'8". Wow. So when did you realize that he was from like really contemplating becoming a professional NBA player. In high school, did you realize that then, or like in middle school when they told you about the
No, no,
prospect?
no, no. I was dumb as mud. I'll put it like that. I didn't know anything. My husband had to explain to me that um, Len going to high school, and if he becomes proficient in the sport, there may be an opportunity for him to get a scholarship to attend a D1 school. I didn't know what D1 was. I didn't know anything.
I don't
And
either.
he
What is a
said
D
he had to
one school?
explain it to me.
What is?
He It's like one of the major universities.
Okay, okay,
University of Maryland, University of North Carolina, University of
okay,
Miami, the
okay.
big ones. So the a lot some of the they have divisions under that. They have divisions under that. And yay, Howard got into the NCAA, even though they have to play a D1 school.
Yes,
They're not
yes,
D1, but they will play, and we're
yes.
just happy for the
Excited for them.
Bison.
I'm
We're
excited for them as well.
yeah, we're looking forward to it. So my husband said, "Do you know Albert King?" Back then, yeah, Albert King that played at Maryland, and his brother Bernard King played for the New York Knicks. Yeah, I know them. He said, "Well, it's a possibility that Len can experience that." And I said, "For real?" He said, "I tell you, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything." So that's where I was. It was no AAU, and he went to different camps. He was, when they saw that he had potential, there were opportunities for him to be sponsored at certain basketball camps, and he progressed.
Wow, that's incredible, incredible. Um, June 19th, 1986, um he was drafted into the
Yes.
NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, to the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
What's your fondest memory of that day?
I tell you, Melinda, I have said this for 37 years, but after I had that dream, I just couldn't. It was like you could see a gold ring, but you just didn't believe you could touch it.
Oh
You know
wow.
what I mean? It's like you're gonna get that, but I just never felt it. I was always leery. People say, "Oh, Leonard's gonna do it," and I said, "Well, we'll see. We'll
Okay.
see." It never was bubbly, jumpy, and like I said, 18 months before his death, God had shown me death, so I was in a different space.
Oh wow.
I was in a different space.
Wow. Yeah. Um, 48 hours. Unfortunately, we know what the results of that was.
Hmm.
Um, shocking the nation. Was there foul play ever suspected with that?
Well, this is my take on that. The only persons that know what happened in that room were the men that were in the room with Len that night. We heard other people's stories, but a dead man cannot talk.
Can't talk. Right.
He cannot speak on his own. I know that people came to me and told me that Len never, ever, ever used drugs, ever. And if he had, he took care of his body. He
Right.
prized himself
Right.
with his body. He would come home and he would say, I can remember him lifting his shirt up and saying, "Mom, hit me in my stomach." See, I didn't even know what a six pack was. I tell you, I was dumb as mud. So busy getting holy, trying to stay in place. And he said, "Ma, hit me in my stomach as hard as you can." I said, "Boy, get out of my face. I'll hurt you." He said, "No, Ma, hit me in my stomach as hard as you can. You can't hurt me." And I said, "Okay." I took my fist and I hit him, and it was like hitting a brick wall. And he
Yes.
laughed. So he prized himself in taking care of his body. And just for this first time, one time, like I said, the only people that know what happened are the people that are in the room. But even with that being said, I still had a mission to go forth. And I tell you, it has to be God. You've lost your child. What do I care about going out speaking to somebody else?
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out what's happened to my son
Yes.
in all of his glory and everybody. I mean, and just to take it a little bit further, I told you how I didn't know anything. Melinda, I didn't know who he was until he died.
Wow. Wow.
I knew that we went to the University of Maryland and he played ball and it was a chance for him to go to the MBA. But when he passed, the whole people still come up to me today and say, I remember where I was. Grown men stand with tears in their eyes talking about, I remember.
Yes.
And I did not know that this man was a superstar. I didn't know that. I only saw him as my son.
Yes, he
And it
was.
wasn't until I received letters and cards from then President and Nancy Reagan and George Bush Sr. and his wife and Tip O'Neill, who was the head of the House of Representatives, and cards and letters from all over the world. And people were just so choked. I mean, they were crying
Yes.
and
Yes.
weeping, and people were just torn up. And then the things that come along with that are because now you may not believe this, but I mean, we didn't have social media then, but
Right.
people are people.
Right.
And people would write cards. I received cards or letters with, you're sitting there acting like you're so strong and you should be crying for your son. And, but that's life. That's the whole thing
Yes.
that I teach people. Life is a bowl with lemon and honey in it. Sometimes it's sweet and sometimes it's bitter. So from that, I learned about expectations and conditions. In every situation we go through in life, what did we learn? What was our takeaway? And then once you understand how people are, then you're not easily offended by everything, but you don't pass it over. But you know what I mean? I have control over me. And I said, they just don't understand. They're grieving and they're torn up, but God has given me the strength to stand this hour.
Yes.
So it has not been follow the yellow brick road. But no,
No.
no, no. It has been a process to get where I am today. And I was speaking for a Woman's Day recently, and I said that you all think that when Len Bias died, that I became strong. No, that's not true. There is it's written that when I was a child, I thought and I acted as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. It took me over 25 years not to be a child, to be the woman that I am today and know who I am. So the process, we can pray all we want, but can you endure the process to stir up the non-marketable wealth that you have in you of perseverance and encouragement, and the non-marketable giftings that you have within ourselves to help bring healing to our community? So it's no magic wand. It doesn't happen overnight. And faith untested is powerless. We can have all of the faith that we want, but as soon as that opportunity comes and we say, oh, I have faith, something will come to say, oh, you do? Watch this.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
going to be tested.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's easy to praise God when everything is going right.
Oh my goodness,
But
yeah.
the real test is when everything, when you are, when all hell is breaking loose.
Yes, ma'am, for real.
That's the real test.
Yes, ma'am.
So, so what message would you say, would you give to that mother that's angry and bitter because her child was killed?
The first thing that I would say is, well, let me address this to people who want to help those that are grieving, because we have parents, the we have parents that are grieving for their children, and they did not die from violence, but the pain is the same.
Still the same.
Children in car accidents. How about children committing suicide? The
Children with
parents
cancer.
didn't know. What about the child just had an illness suddenly and didn't come through it? So if we had a stadium, there is not any place big enough to hold all of the parents that have lost their children, and the pain is the same. So I tell people not to minimize people's pain. They people sometimes want people to get over things quickly, but you can't. A mother grieves from her womb, and those tears come from her womb. She carried her baby there. So the first thing that I tell parents, people that want to, um, the people that are grieving is, uh, God does not bury love.
He does not bury love.
No, he does not.
Okay, right.
The love that you had for your child, you keep that love, but you have to give that love out. That's how the healing comes. The love that you have for your child should birth something in you once you can unload everything that you're dealing with. If it's to move forward in just us, and we can talk about injustice all that we want, but we have to be able to go from words to action in how we prepare our community to be taken seriously. You know what I mean? So while we're doing, as I said earlier, justice on this side, we need to be bringing justice on the other side, the things that we can do. The second thing that I tell parents is, did you say goodbye? Melinda, we waste so much time on nonsense, and many adults are so preoccupied with so many things, and we don't take the time that we need to take to let our loved ones know that we value them and we love them. And what I have learned from the deaths of my two sons, God blessed me with six beautiful grandchildren. And I tell them over and over and over again that I love them. They know their Nana loves them. My relatives, my friends, I tell them, I love you. I love you. We just take so much for granted.
Yes.
And then the third point that I wanted to make is so important, especially if we are in the household of faith. Pray over your children
Yes.
and believe what you're praying and pray for them.
Yes.
Cover them with prayer. The word of God says they are angels. The children have angels. Just speak a word over them.
Yes.
Speak a word over them. And one of the things that I think that need to be done within our community as we turn our community around is we will have rallies, and when someone has been murdered, or vigils, but what ministries or ministers will call all of the children together in the community and declare blessings over them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You give God something to work with. And as I said earlier today at a funeral where I gave remarks, is that the supernatural is real, and the in energy that we're dealing with today, just handling everything in the natural is not going to work. We need words spoken over our young people and prayers for our young people to help them. And if we don't do it that way, we will continue in a continuous cycle. You okay?
Yes, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. That is something that is so necessary in our community. And I think a lot of these children do not know that they are loved,
Exactly.
and that is the missing link. Um,
That's it.
excuse me. I have interviewed numerous young people over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and last year I spoke to some young people, and it just broke my heart. I asked these three little young guys, about 15, 14 years old,
Mm-hmm.
what do they want to be when they grow up? And they started laughing. And I'm like, what's funny about that? I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand that. And one of the guys said, he was like, man, I'll be dead.
Right.
You know,
That's their
who
reality.
gonna live?
That's
He said,
right.
who gonna live to be 21?
That's right.
Couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm. That's real.
That they really believe that.
That's right.
That just really took me for a loop. That just really took me for a
I
loop.
wanted to share this one point with you recently that I dealt with last week. I had was over in Southeast DC, over by Alabama Avenue, and attending a revival service. And my granddaughter was with me. I was taking her home, and I went to get into the right lane, and I had a blind side. I didn't see that it was a car there. So they blew their horn, and I got back over. So once I got back over, they went around me and sped up to the next light. And my granddaughter, who is conscientious about the culture and the trends and the things that are going on, the first thing we have to understand as mothers is that, and mothers and grandmothers and aunties and all of that, is that our young people are terrified. They're scared to death. They have no borders of safety. They don't know what is going to pop off. So they're consumed with fear. So my granddaughter, who is 15, going on 16, has a heightened awareness of what's going on. Me, I'm just driving in my car. The car shot around me. And when we got to the next light, they had their window rolled down.
Mm.
And my granddaughter said, Nana, they have their window rolled down. And she slid all the way down in the seat. I said, well, what's going on? So I rolled my window down and I said, hey, babies, these were young kids. Hey, babies, I didn't see you. I'm so sorry. And they smiled and pulled off. What they didn't know was love was going to hit them in the face.
Yes,
They
yes,
can read a phony a mile off. They know what's real. And they smiled and they drove off. But my poor granddaughter was traumatized
wow,
because she knew that when they rolled that window down, they were going to pull something out and start shooting
wow,
because of road rage. That's what they do.
yes, yes. And it's just so heartbreaking.
It is, but we have a lot of work to do within our community because our young people are reachable, teachable, lovable, and savable. We have to change our approach in adapting to their needs. And what worked in 2010, 2015, 2018, and 2020 sure is not going to help us now in 2023 and 24. We have to step our game up and use the same message of principles and power using different methods of unconditional caring.
Yes. What methods would you suggest? Do you think that we need to take for parents? Because it's just so heartbreaking to see so many young people. We're talking about 11 and 12 and 13-year-old kids
Yeah,
out here
yeah,
carjacking, killing, and stealing.
yeah. Well, there's no prevention in place. And when we can get prevention, case in point, there is a minister that I know. He came out of retirement and started driving a school bus.
Wow.
And he puts Gatorade on the bus for the students when they get on, and they all love him to death. Acts of love, acts of kindness. And parents have to remember, when you're cussing your children out,
Yes.
you're speaking death over them.
Yes.
When you are MFing this, and didn't I tell you, I heard a mother cuss a little boy out on my way from church because he was in the car. He didn't want to stay in there by himself. And she was young. She didn't know any better.
Right.
And she was saying, G did, you think I'm gonna leave your so-and-so in the car? And you could see that little boy had all of that hatred and bitterness in him. He wasn't but 4 years old.
That's
So
heartbreaking.
just thinking about tenderness and kindness and
Right.
being
Right.
refocusing on what it takes to build a family, what it takes. And we have to go back to principles. Principles don't change, people change. And what we used to do is not doing, it's not working, and we need to step our game up. The
Yeah.
best is yet to come, but we have to give more of ourselves. We have more to give. We
Right.
have more to give and take our eyes off of what we want, what I like. We have to make sacrifice for our children.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly because the reality is that if the children don't feel, aren't told that they are loved and don't feel love, then
Hmm.
a lot of times it can turn, they either you love or you hate it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And I think they internalize that to hate,
Absolutely.
and they hate the lack of parenthood. They hate that their mothers are so disrespectful to them, and they
Exactly.
internalize that. So then they hate everybody.
That's right.
Because if they have that disconnect with the woman that birthed them, and
That's
they don't
right.
have that connection, I think personally, I think modern technology has a lot to do with it because these babies today, Dr. Byers, practically come out the womb with an iPad. So
Well,
you
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
whereas my generation and your generation, like parents took the time to sit down and teach their children the ABCs and the one, two, threes, but now they have these gadgets to do that. So that takes away that bonding.
I agree with you.
Yes,
I
yes,
agree with you. And we also have to be cognizant of the fact that when babies are in the womb, they are alive. And everything that the mother does, they're downloading it, it's going into their DNA, everything. And that's why the kids are so smart today. My oldest grandson is 31, and my youngest grandbaby is 5, it will be 5 this year. And she is so smart. I mean, in pre-K and talking about literally this and literally that. What do you mean literally? You know what I mean?
literally.
And then, but they're smart like that. But they're downloading the when the parents are carrying them in the womb and whatever they're doing, it's going in. It's going in. So it's the same thing when they're in environments where there's a lot of confusion and no peace and they're in the womb. They come out nervous, already wired for craziness
Yes,
because that's the environment that they had been in while they were in the womb. You see what I'm saying?
yes. It's just so heartbreaking because I came from that. I brought you in this world. I'll take you out this
Yeah, yeah,
know, and
yeah.
I would be at my grandmother's house, and if I walked into the room and there weren't any adults, the first thing they would say, "No kids in here."
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
and those are the things that we have to go back to because
Right.
you know they're dropping the ball as parents. Like it's not okay. You can't do anything, any and everything in front of these kids.
But
You
Melinda, we also have to look at it this way.
yes,
We knew that our grandparents loved us.
yes,
We knew that we were loved. So when you are correcting and love is your motivation, you're not grown. And you get out of grown folks' faces. Well, today we have so much, and people give more stuff and less love.
Yes.
We always wanted the material stuff. No, you can't get that. You can get this shoe or that shoe. Now, which one do you want?
Yes.
No, I'm not paying all of that money for that. Oh, okay. I'll take this one, and you go head on. But today, our children are so materialistic minded, and they have been so material wired, so material to be materially oriented, that they think things and stuff will help them, and it does not. What they're missing is the unconditional caring. And if I, being a Black woman, can go into a school with 2,000 white students and stand there and speak, and you can hear a pin, you can hear a pin drop, and the people want to know, well, what do you do? It's not me, it's the love, the unconditional love. And my motivation is to try to help them. So we have to change our motivation in terms of understanding that motherhood, sisterhood, and womanhood are positions of honor.
Yes.
We are the life givers, the trailblazers, the pathfinders. We nurture the atmosphere. We nurture the children, but we have been programmed with this whole thing. This new idea is what it's about me. It's what I want to do.
Right.
But we have to pull back and look at what we're saying to our children and putting them first. And it doesn't mean that they don't love the kids. It's just more is required. What our parents did for us is not going to work today.
Ah,
Hooping and hollering and screaming and cussing, the only thing that means is you're going to have to keep hooping and hollering and screaming. So when we give our workshops to parents, we talk about the greatest power that they have. And the greatest power is self-control. And power isn't going off saying all of the stuff that you want to say to your child. Power is resisting the temptation of saying that and saying the right thing. There are times you're going to have to yell and you may have to threat, but your motivation is always for your baby, and you have to let them know we need that love out there. That, well, my mother didn't do me, and I'm gonna do what my mother. No, this is a different day.
it is.
These babies have seen everything, tried everything. 12 years old, they're out here with semi-automatic weapons.
Yes.
10 years old and can drive a 10-year tractor trailer if they have to. We have to step our game up.
We definitely have to step our game up. I also believe that a lot of it has to do with this modern technology, and I say that because a lot of these violent video games, like
Yes,
these parents aren't
absolutely.
teaching these kids how to drive. Believe
That's
that,
right.
but
That's
it's
right.
games like Grand Theft Auto.
Mm.
That game has 729 murders that you have to commit. You have
Wow.
to commit one murder to get from one level to the next level. And
Mm-hmm.
this game has been around since 1993, I think. But this
Wow.
latest edition, they have to commit 729 murders, and the murders consist of going into a club, shooting up the club,
Oh
going
my God.
going up on a front porch and just shooting random people,
Yes.
shooting cars
Yes.
at the parking lot. This is what we are witnessing today.
Yes.
And they cannot
Absolutely.
tell me. I wrote an op-ed letter to the Washington Post back in 2019, pre-pandemic, about the severity of the video games. This is
Mm-hmm.
$1 billion business.
That's right.
And
You're
once the
messing with big business now.
right, and once the pandemic hit and these babies started playing these games 24/7, they
Mm-hmm.
cannot separate real life from the game.
That's
So,
right.
and so, I mean, I stress to parents, to mothers, to be aware of what
Yes.
you're purchasing for your children. I
Exactly.
mean, they have the men that they are dealing with that are in their beds are the ones that are coercing these babies to go
Mm.
out here and commit these crimes.
Mm.
So there is it's just so much, and it's
But
just
there's still hope. Hope is not
oh
extinct.
yeah, yes,
And your program is doing its part. It's many paths to the top of the mountain. Once you get there, the view is the same. And
Yes,
you're doing your part. I'm doing my part.
absolutely.
There are other, who is it? I think it's a mutual friend, Greg Baldwin.
Yes,
He is
okay.
doing helping hands, helping mothers and
Yes,
that have lost children to violence. And there are just so many wonderful programs out there. We just cannot be weary in doing well and getting the messages out and don't throw in the towel. We have to speak truth to life, and that's what you're doing.
yes,
And you just can't get weary in doing well because endurance is the ability to withstand stress and hardship,
yes,
and we're in a battle and we've got to fight, and you are battle ready and battle tested. Just
yes.
don't throw in the towel.
I would never give up. I would never give up.
That's right.
Give up. I just want to. I lead with love in everything that I do.
Yes.
I am the same in terms of I tell everyone that I love them. You never
Sure.
know when it's gonna be the last
That's
time
right.
person. And I think it's just so important, and that's what we need to bring back to the community. So, any last words you would like to share with the listeners, Dr. Byers? I'm so honored that you were on the show tonight.
Well, I hope that some of what I said um, resonates in their spirit, but also um, someone told me years ago when Len first died, take life's lemons and make lemonade. And I thought that was the worst thing in the world. I buried two sons, and how are you going to tell me to make lemonade out of it? But as I said before, endurance is the ability to withstand stress and hardship and take the steps of the process. And today, where I had lemons 37 years ago, today I have lemonade.
Yes,
The My tears were the water. The lemon being squeezed and rolled was the hardship. And the sweet spots were the things that still remained in my life that were still good. And so many times when we go through, especially death, as mothers, we will just go off to ourselves. I'm trying to get myself together, but mothers can't do that. I tell mothers all of the time, if you have lost a child, remember, if you have a husband, other children, grandchildren, they need your love. You go in the shower, you scream and cry and holler and fight, but you come back out prepared to lead your family. If you've got to get in the car and go for a ride and cry for an hour and be mad with God, do it, but come back pulled together, ready to lead your family. It's all process, and nobody is going to escape dealing with trauma. Nobody. And when we look at death, every man has a reservation at some cemetery or crematory without the privilege of cancellation. We are all checking up out of here.
yes,
So, did we, as you just said, let them know that we love them? Or where are we in our faith? Where will they spend eternity?
yes, yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Byers. Thank you so much. I'm sure this is going to definitely resonate with a lot of women. I thank you so much, and I hope to meet you in person one day soon. Take care and God bless.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Much love to you and your listeners.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
In Just Us will be back in the studio on Wednesday, March 29th, and the featured guest will be Cornell Bobby Young, who fought for 42 years to bring his brother home, who was falsely accused and wrongfully incarcerated. They will both be in this building to talk about the long journey to freedom. If you would like to be featured on Injustice, or you have a topic that you would like to recommend for a future show, please send an email to me at melindarobertson35gmail.com, or instant message author Melinda Robertson on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Peace.